Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yeah.
Welcome back to our special episodes of The Truth About Islam, Islam in America. Today we're in the Germantown area of Philadelphia, and we're at the Germantown Masjid. And we're going to be speaking to the president of the Masjid and some of the community members. So please join us on our continuing journey of discovery of Islam in America. Today we're in the Germantown area of Philadelphia, and we're at the Germantown Masjid to talk with the president of the Germantown Masjid, Sadiq Abdul-Jabbar. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Yeah, Brother Sadiq, first of all, here in this Germantown area of Philadelphia, just tell me a bit about the history of this area of Philadelphia.
Well, basically, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam wa rasulillah. The Germantown area of Philadelphia is one of the oldest areas in Philadelphia. Actually, it's one of the areas that when this country was established, that the presidency of the United States of America, at one time, it was right here in Philadelphia. And then the Germantown section was actually where the people who live in the White House today, they lived in this area of Philadelphia in those days. And we're talking about in the 1600s and the 1700s.
So there's still a lot of historical sites and historical significance to this area.
There's still a lot of historical sites, and there's a lot of historical history to this area, alhamdulillah.
And Brother Sadiq, just tell us a bit about yourself, you know, how you became Muslim and how you came to settle here in this area in Philadelphia.
Well, basically, I became Muslim about 25 years ago here in Philadelphia. I took Shahada, alhamdulillah. There was a group of people, or some people who were talking about Islam and going around giving da'wah in those times, and we started here. They were actually Muslim, we were not Muslim. And
Right.
at that time, I really didn't have the intentions on becoming a Muslim.
But let me just get some more background about you. What was your life like at that time before you became Muslim? You say you didn't intend to become Muslim, but what was your life back before Islam? Just generally, not specific.
Well, in general, my life was the dunya and everything in the dunya.
Right.
And that was my belief system, was just believing in whatever was tangible or whatever was a part of the dunya.
Right.
It wasn't based upon any faith at that time. My family background was Christianity. And my mother was a Christian, my father, but my background, I was raised in that, but I didn't really believe in it like that.
And so how did you come to finally take Shahada and become Muslim?
Well, alhamdulillah, we went to, at that time, it was a place called Clara Muhammad School, and that's where I took my Shahada at about 25 years ago.
Right.
And then as Islamic information became more prevalent, then we started studying a little more and learning a little bit more about Islam. And then even in the city of Philadelphia, Islam started being a place where Islam started spreading, and a lot of people started taking Shahada, and the dawah started moving and moving and moving up until the day where we're standing at right now in Germantown. When you look at the buildings that are in front of you, originally these was two dilapidated buildings.
You mean the masjid buildings?
The masjid, two buildings that are standing in front of you. One was burnt down and one was falling down. And they were actually buildings that were the worstest looking buildings on this block. And they felt as though they should have been torn down at that time. But at that time, we just wanted the opportunity to be able to get in those buildings and spread some Islam and be able to start something with, there was a brother across the street by the name of Samir that has the barber shop directly across the street, right here in front of me where the masjid is. He used to come in a burnt down building and teach people, and he would give a talim service in that building on Sunday because he was giving talim in his house, and he'd outgrown that place at that time.
Right.
And they used to go in this building, which was bought by the Muslims at that time for $1.
For $1.
and the other one was bought for about $5,000. But now, alhamdulillah, both of them were worth about $150,000 a piece.
Right, right. So tell me a bit about the community here and the size of the community and even your masjid and the future of this masjid.
Well, when we first started, we had about 10 people in this masjid. And in this community, it was sort of a little rough area because a lot of things went on as far as...
Is it still a rough area now?
Well, it's still a rough area, but alhamdulillah, Islam has changed the area a whole lot.
And explain that. What do you mean Islam has changed the area a whole lot?
Meaning that even when you talk to the people that are not Muslim, the kuffar that live in this area, they would tell you since the Muslims' presence and the Muslims frequent and praying 5 times a day, and the adhan being called and heard 5 times a day.
Well, let me stop you. So you mean here in this place you make the adhan out loud?
Yes.
MashaAllah.
We make the adhan out loud, outside, 5 times a day.
Do you ever get any feedback from the neighbors about the adhan being out loud, or does everybody have no problem with that?
Well, basically, if you look around, you'll see that to the right of us, to the left of us, is churches everywhere. And if you see right there, they have church bells that go off all the time. And no one complains about that. And even when people did complain, that was what we used to diffuse their gripes in reference to just the adhan being called. But after a period of time, they sort of got used to it. And also they've sort of accepted it because they've looked at the benefit that they've seen from the Muslims in this area and the Muslims' presence. Because one of the things that we did when we first started this community was we weren't just looking for a place to have a musalla or a prayer area. We were looking for a place to develop a community, meaning a place to develop a community, meaning where the Muslims can live close proximity to each other, where the Muslims' children can be raised together, where the Muslims can start establishing Muslim businesses. If you look throughout this community today, at one time 10 years ago, it was nowhere near the businesses that you see that are coming to the area now. And alhamdulillah, the Muslims were in the lead in the forefront of that movement as far as establishing businesses and bringing life back to this area.
And what about the community? What's the size of the community here? And is this building now enough for your community?
Actually, what has happened is right now we're at our full capacity. We've outgrown these 2 facilities. When we first started, it was 5 people. Now, alhamdulillah, for Juma, we have over 1,000 people.
Here in these buildings?
In these buildings. We have 4 floors. And when you come 10, 15 minutes after the Salat, the Juma Salat starts, then you can't get in. You have to pray outside, or you might have to pray Salatul Dhuhr instead of Juma because there's no more space inside of the building.
All right. So let me ask you, is there a plan to expand this building or find a new place?
Well, alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us where we have found a new place. It's about 5 minutes driving around the corner from this building. Last December, we purchased the building, alhamdulillah. There was one brother, mashallah, may Allah reward him. He was able to purchase the building for the community. Allah blessed him with a situation that went very good for him. And he wanted to see a Muslim school, and he wanted to see a situation. So we just purchased a building around the corner that's 40,000 square feet. It used to be a warehouse. And the intention is to convert this warehouse into a building where we can have a school from K to 12, an Islamic school for the Muslims' children. Also, where we have a musalla space that can hold anywhere between 2,000 and 3,000 people on the floor. Then also we can have an area where we have in the facility a space designated for a janazah station. So that any Muslims that die in the city of Philadelphia, that the Muslims can handle the burial. Also, we have a facility there where we're putting in, inshallah, if Allah wills and give us the money to be able to do this project, a full-fledged library. A library that's going to be encompass Arabic, English, circular knowledge, Islamic knowledge, audio, video, and the likes, and all forms of educational materials.
Well, inshallah, Sadiq, we'll get to visit that place or the location for your new masjid later. Okay, just tell me a bit, Sadiq, about, not about this community in specific, but in Philadelphia in general. Tell me about the acceptance of Muslims and Islam by the non-Muslim communities of Philadelphia.
Well, one of the things that you see here, Omar, is that In Philadelphia, you might see Muslims driving anywhere. You see Muslim sisters, you see Muslim brothers, you see Muslim children in the city and as well as the suburbs, because the presence of Islam in the city of Philadelphia as a whole is very, very strong. And if you start looking at even the families here in the city of Philadelphia, out of every 10 or 20 households, there's someone in their family that's Muslim. Their cousin, their brother, their niece, their nephew, their grandmother, someone in their family is Muslim. And even the people who haven't accepted Islam yet, and may Allah guide them to Islam, even the people who haven't accepted Islam yet, they still see the presence of Islam, and they see the presence of the Muslims, and also they see the work.
Sadiq, let me ask you now, because there's a lot of misconceptions in the world about Islam and Muslims. Do you think like the situation which you described here in Philadelphia, where people live in close proximity to the Muslims, their cousins and brothers are Muslims, gives the residents of Philadelphia a better understanding, more than average, about Muslims and Islam?
I think that's absolutely correct. And even to give an example of that, last year we have a school up the street from us, about 5 minutes. It's called the Germantown Friends School. Actually, it's ran by the Quakers of Pennsylvania. And if anyone knows the history about the Quakers of Pennsylvania, they're some of the people who were some of the founding fathers of this country. And they actually, even after 9/11, they came to us and they asked our school to give them people who would come to educate their children about what Islam is, and what is the correct Islam, and what are the Islamic concepts, and what are some of the things that are not Islamic concepts, to clear up the misconceptions. And since 9/11, there's been a lot of more interest about Islam, and what Islam is and what Islam isn't, and what is the correct actions in Islam and what is the incorrect actions in Islam.
So, and just about the dawah efforts and reaching out and people accepting and coming to Islam, in spite of the negative media attention and propaganda against Islam, have you found that still there are many people coming to accept Islam?
Alhamdulillah. That's absolutely correct. Throughout the whole city. And even here in our masjid, we have right now, we have a situation where every week we have a sisters class on Sunday of new shahadas. And in this sisters class, it's been averaging at least 50 sisters every Sunday. And inshallah, if you're able to come tomorrow morning, you'll be able to shoot some footage of that. And you'll see these sisters, they come with their children. They come by way of bus. They come by way of walking. They come by way of cars. They come by way of transporting with other people to get to this area so that they can participate in the Tawheed class to learn about the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
We're here with some of the sisters of the Germantown Masjid here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in the United States of America. Sister, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
For our viewers, we're trying to give them an idea of what life is like for the Muslims in America. And today we're with you and we want to talk about some of the issues and the life of Muslim women in America. So first of all, I just want to ask you, how you came to Islam and how you took Shahada and accepted Islam.
Well, I had a few family members that were already Muslim, and they began to talk to me about some things about Islam and, just reading to me some things out of the Quran and how Islam is the correct way of life for, all of human beings. And the Quran was sent to all of us, so I started to read. And once I began to read and become educated about Islam, that's when I took Shahada.
And how long have you been Muslim now?
10 years.
There are many issues in Islam regarding the woman's dress and the hijab. And here, living in the non-Muslim countries, even more so an issue. So tell me a bit about the Muslim women of this community and the hijab and the way they dress, because the misconception is that they're doing this for something other than their own selves. So please explain that to us.
Okay, well, we as Muslim women, we are really, I'm sorry, I'm nervous. We are really thorough in reference to covering, and that's because we understand that this is a commandment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And once we read and learn, it increases your faith, and it allows you to do it willingly because you want to. Of course, we have the decision, because we're in America, to not cover or cover, but we choose to cover because we understand that this is a part of Islam, and we believe in the religion of Islam, and this is the reason why we cover.
So it's not proper for someone to say that Muslim women are forced to dress like this?
No, this is not proper at all.
And let me ask you about the dawah efforts. There's a lot of misconceptions and misinformation about Islam in the world. So, in spite of that, have there been many women still continuing to accept Islam?
Yes, I have been teaching a new Shahada class here for almost 5 years. and there has been an abundance amount of women who consistently come to class to learn a religion. Even this right now, this is the time for my class here, and there's at least 50 women upstairs who have come willingly on their own every week in order to learn a religion.
And in your class, what do you teach the new Muslims about Islam?
In my class, we teach them, one, about their Lord, about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because they have a lot of misconceptions, and they believe that when people say that you're worshiping God, that this is a different God, but we teach them that there's only one God. So they learn about that, and they learn about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We clear up any other misconceptions that they may have had about him also. We teach them how to make salah. We teach them about the beauties of covering, how to make the covering easy for them, and help them to pick out material that is lightweight and that, you know, allows them to be able to cover without feeling like that it'll like be a health issue. Some sisters have asthma. We show them how they can get maybe some cotton face veils or cotton khimars to help the covering be easy for them. We teach them in reference to the matter of faith, how there is no perfect Muslim, that, you know, we all have ups and downs, and your faith increases and your faith decreases, and that, you know, we give them the steps that you need to take in order to increase your faith. So if you're having some issues, we tell them, you know, you can read the Quran, or we can lean on each other and help each other in order to be better Muslims, because we're not going to be perfect.
All right, sister, let me ask you, in your interaction here in the society, going out dressed as a Muslim woman, do you face any issues from the people, some misunderstandings, some questions, some angry glances or anything like that?
We face that, but again, you know, this is a lot due to ignorance. You know, people who don't really understand, they don't really know about Islam. Only thing they know is what they hear on a TV or what other people tell them. But I always try to encourage the sisters in my class that we have to get the information out there and let them know that Islam isn't about terrorism. It isn't about hurting other people. It isn't about the negativity that is shown in the TV. So I tell them all the time that if someone, they have a question, then stop, take a minute and answer them and explain to them, no, this is not how it is. And, you know, are you hot? You know, if it's 90 degrees, we're all hot.
Let me ask you a question, because I know you heard this question before. Somebody really, not with hatred, but they're just honest. They ask you, Miss, why do you dress like that? Why do you dress like that? Because maybe the answer you give is a help for some of the other sisters who might encounter this question.
Well, I tell them that covering myself is out of modesty. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explains to us that it's not for everyone to see the body of a woman, period. And I explained to them that even before Islam, I come from a Christian-based family where, you know, my grandmother and the older women in my family, they all still dress modestly. They all still, you know, have long dresses or long skirts, and they don't expose their bodies. So this is something that has been around since the beginning of time, not just with Islam, but women who try to be religious always dress modestly.
Right. And the women who come to you, who want to know about Islam, not really new shahadas, they just want some information about Islam. What do you find are the major questions, the primary questions they ask about Islam?
The primary question they ask me about Islam is, how do we feel about Jesus Christ? A lot of times they believe that if they practice Islam, that they no longer can love Jesus Christ. But we explain to them that Jesus is a prophet of Allah, and we also love him. We don't worship him, but we love him, and this is not something that they themselves have to turn away from what they was grown up with in their family. A lot of times this is what they think. So we explain that to them first, that you still going to believe in Jesus as a prophet. You're just not going to worship him.
And sister, now some people are watching you, and there's a misconception in your mind that you think many people have. What would it be if you had a few minutes just to clear up a misconception which you hear a lot, but not just about women in general, but even about Islam?
One thing I wanted to clear up is that Islam is a religion of peace. It's a religion where, you know, we love each other, we love our neighbors, we are fair and just with people, whether they are Muslim or not Muslim. We don't just hurt you or out to do things to you or not be fair and not be neighborly with you if you're not Muslim. We have neighbors around here who aren't Muslim, and we are kind and just with them. We don't park in their parking spaces. We don't stand in front of their doors and make a lot of noise. So this is a religion of peace, and this is something that a lot of people don't know. And also just to tell them that us as women, we are not oppressed. We choose this religion. We choose to dress this way, and we know that basically the only people who can't see us are people who are outside of our family, but our immediate family, they still see us. We don't walk around the house like this, and you know, we still interact with our family members who are not Muslim.
But let me ask you, when you accepted Islam and your family at large, how do they accept the fact that you're Muslim?
my immediate family automatically knew that I wasn't a person who makes decisions in hate. So they knew that I was studying it. But as far as my extended family, then I had to explain to them that this was something that I was doing willingly. It was something that I didn't have a problem with doing because I read and I learned and I understood that Islam is the correct way of life.
Okay, Jazakallah khairan. Thank you very much, sister, for your time. Alhamdulillah, we hope for our viewers who are able to get an insight of the thinking and the thoroughness of the understanding of Muslim women here in America. Continue with us on our journey of discovery of Islam in America.